Get this turned on.
Are we ready? Well, good morning. Thank you all for being here this morning. Governor Branstad is still away, but I am pleased to be joined this morning by Dr. Jeff Weld, who is the Executive Director for the Governor's Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math Advisory Council. And we are absolutely thrilled to announce this morning a milestone in the Council's work. Starting this fall, thousands of additional young Iowans in communities all across the state will have access to high-quality science, technology, engineering, and math STEM education. I am so proud of the commitment that Iowans have placed in giving students a stronger STEM education. The Governor appointed University of Northern Iowa Ben Allen and myself to co-chair the initiative and appointed the Council's 40 members in September of 2011, and they represent a very diverse cross-section of interest. The public-private partnership is off to a great start thanks to a very generous $4.7 million appropriation from the legislature, and also because of the backing of Iowa business leaders, which have been invaluable in this initiative. The STEM Council's overarching goal is increasing student interest and achievement in science, STEM subjects, while aligning it to STEM economic development. We recognize reaching this goal is crucial, both to assure more students are better prepared and they have better opportunities that they deserve, but also to ensure a competitive future Iowa STEM labor supply. The Council's first year was really devoted to expanding high-quality, first-rate STEM education programs, both in school and out of school. And what we discovered is we have some outstanding STEM education programs, but it really depended on where you lived, whether you had access to them, and we're changing that. The groundwork laid for the milestone that we're talking about today began in May of this year when the Council announced the creation of the Regional STEM Network, supported by 6 coordinating hubs, 6 managers, and an advisory board in each region. Through a competitive bid process, a pool of 12 high-quality, scalable STEM education programs was established. In August, the hubs began seeking applications from educators, clubs, and other youth organizations that were interested in participating in the pool of STEM education programs. September 14th was the deadline, and to be honest, we hoped that we would receive about 300 applications, and instead we were absolutely amazed by the response. More than 900 requests from all over Iowa were submitted to the 6 regional hubs, and I think this really underscores the interest and the importance of assuring that children have access to STEM education programs, and it certainly speaks to the outstanding job that our hub managers did in their outreach efforts throughout their respective regions. So I want to express my deep appreciation to everyone who applied, and especially to the hub managers who have been very busy seeking and evaluating the applications. I'm delighted to tell you that we were able to fulfill more than 800 of the requests to participate in the pool of STEM scale-up programs in the 2012-13 school year. And I think Jeff's going to talk about how creative some of the hub managers got in making sure that we could meet as many of those requests as possible. The managers have been notifying the individuals that have been selected, and if additional funds become available, we hope that we can meet the additional request. The STEM initiative is about increasing innovation, productivity, and opportunity for our students and for Iowa. It's about expanding STEM education programs across Iowa certainly moves us in that direction. And now it's my pleasure to turn the podium over to Dr. Weld, and he's going to update you on what's next and on some of the programs. So thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Reynolds. And I'm going to recognize the managers that are with us today who have been working so very hard. I see Chris Kilovarda on the far left, South Central region, James Holscher, Northeast region, Lynn Campbell, North Central region, and Beth Kuhl, Southwest. And I'm also going to recognize some unsung heroes of this process, and that's the service providers, the applicants whose programs rose to the level of scale-up, the dozen programs that we're currently rolling out across the state. And I think 2 program service providers are here with us. Pat Higby with the fabulous resources in energy education, and Josh Remington with the curriculum of agricultural science. Thank you both very much. And these, in fact, are two of the most popular programs of the 12. And it's a market-driven system that has identified them as popular, so we're most grateful for their efforts and coaching along the way. This is a remarkable undertaking to scale programs that have been operating in the corner of the state to now being available across the state. Astounding undertaking. Thank you very much. And of the 800 applicants across Iowa that the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, they were selected by review panels in each of the 6 regions, by review panels that were managed by our managers, of course. And the criteria by which they were selected was chiefly capacity, evidence of capacity to make these programs grow and be successful in their regions, but also evidence of need. And I want to show you a tool that was in the toolbox of the scale-up selection committees. This is a heat map of the state of Iowa that managers and their selection committees utilize to determine where in the state there is need. And we aspire to turn some of those white regions, impoverished with regard to STEM, into yellow, pink, orange, maybe even red at some point. So thank you all very much. We'll be monitoring this closely. We'll be watching the Iowa test scores of students who participate in these programs, watching for changes in performance academically. We'll also be monitoring these students for changes in attitude and intentions with regard to studying the STEM fields. And we'll be monitoring post-secondary readiness for STEM study and careers. So it's going to be quite an adventure, but it's going to be a studied, methodical adventure. The vision of the STEM Council, I need to acknowledge, is in getting us to where we are today, and also the hard work of our managers and our scale-up providers. You have helped Iowa position itself to make STEM history, and this is not hyperbole. I get frequent calls from other states seeking Iowa's roadmap and how we're getting this done. I just sent materials off last night back to Oregon on behalf of all of you, asking that they be sure to credit Iowa's hard work with how we've gotten to where we are. And it's important to acknowledge that scale-up is but one of 7 active fronts being advanced by the Governor's STEM Council. Lieutenant Governor Reynolds and President Allen are conducting a statewide tour this month for STEM community conversations, in which they're introducing Iowans to 6 other recommendations that have risen from planning working groups of the council. Those fronts include the development of professional development coordination across the state. The current professional development model in our state is very similar to the STEM education and learning opportunities model. It's hit and miss, depending on where one lives. So we aspire to do something about that. We're also looking at STEM teacher recruitment and production, quality STEM teachers, including perhaps rigorous, non-traditional pipeline for STEM professionals to enter classrooms. We're designing a web platform, a one-stop shop, a clearinghouse of great lessons, demonstrations, directories of resources, exemplary online lessons to observe. We're hoping to promote STEM-focused schools in the state, a public awareness campaign to help Iowans recognize the great opportunities available in STEM for their children's futures, and to incentivize Iowa's business, to business community to get in the game, to help us at the K-12 partnership level so that we can fuel the workforce pipeline and help them. So all that leads to my conclusion that Iowans should rest assured that the best STEM thinkers in our state are all over this challenge, delivering ultimately world-class STEM education opportunities to every child in every community of the state. So thank you very much.
We'd be happy to take questions regarding the STEM initiative.
You mentioned you're going to track the results. How are you going to quantify the results?
Well, we've put together, I think there's about 18 indicators that we'll be monitoring growth with. One of them, the Iowa assessment, which used to be the Iowa Test of Basic Skills, I believe, has allowed us this year to add questions at the bottom of the test. And how many students will that reach?
360,000.
So all students taking the test. So we can start to get a baseline of where they're at. It monitors interest in taking science and math, if they have any intention of going into that discipline. So that will be a baseline, and that was not on the test before, as well as the NAEP test. We'll track students moving into STEM disciplines, whether they stay in the STEM disciplines. So we have, and I believe they'll be on the website at iowastem.gov. If you want to go there, we'll have a list of the indicators. But it's very important to this initiative that when we go back to the legislature next year and we talk about what we've done in the first year, that we have measurables in place so that when I can say to them, or when we say to them, we're asking for a continued appropriation because we're starting to make progress. We're getting these STEM education programs in the hands of students all across the state of Iowa, and that's where it starts. That's where we start to inspire them to take science and math so they can start to see the relevance of taking those courses and the impact that that has on their life, on their quality of life, and really on the great jobs that they can have in the future. So this is going to help us inspire them, get them engaged, and it's also going to help us make sure that when they graduate from high school that they are career or college ready.
When you talk about the funding, the measure of demand, is that going to lend some power to your department?
Well, I think so, because that's one of the, the numbers speak for themselves. The interest is there. These are educators, these are after-school programs, these are informal learning opportunities. I mean, we started this after the school year had already started. We've only been at this, when did they identify the scale-ups? In July? I mean, so we're moving at a pretty rapid pace here. So we're hoping that these initiatives can augment what they're already doing. There's the programs that were selected because they have proven results and they're scalable. So we're hoping to make it as easy as we can, especially for educators that are already so busy with everything else that they have to do. But so our goal was 300 and we had 3 times that. I mean, it's just phenomenal. It's just exciting, I think, to be able to say, look how many additional students that we're reaching through this initiative, and that's just 12 scalables. So.
Besides the appropriation, the continuing appropriation, is there anything else that would require legislative action? Dr. Weld mentioned a non-traditional pipeline for teachers to get in. Do you have to deal with the legislature to move around state statute or change state statute?
Well, that's some of the things that we're looking at, so it would require some additional legislation. What we're doing right now is we've had 6 or 7 subgroups that have been working very diligently on putting in place some strategic policies on how we continue to move STEM forward for the next several years. In addition to that, this is a public-private partnership, so we want to be sure that we're leveraging public dollars with private dollars. Jeff mentioned one of the initiatives of incentivizing the private sector to be a part of this initiative, whether it's with time or mentoring or internships for students, but also getting equipment to the school districts, in addition to financial support. So there's a lot of different ways that business can participate in this initiative, and really, as we travel across the state, we're seeing more and more businesses that are stepping up. They're working with community colleges, they're working with the high schools. They are really interested in being a part of this initiative. When Jeff mentioned the community conversations that we're having all across the state of Iowa, we are getting great turnout at these town halls. People are engaged, they've got great questions, they've had great suggestions, but it's educators, it's parents, it's business and industry. So I've been really encouraged. Yeah. Oh, he wants to get a word in edgewise here. Sorry. Not that I care about this or anything.
It's a great question that I want to highlight. That what we're doing with the scale-up model is other sectors of STEM are poised to do the same. We've identified 12 exemplary programs that existed, sometimes in pockets of the state, that we're growing so that all Iowa youth can enjoy it. Similarly, I think we have non-traditional pathways exist in Iowa now. The Inter-University Collaborative, I think some of our private colleges have small gems that are primed for growing, and STEM schools, I mentioned our intention to help develop STEM schools. They exist. The George Washington Carver Academy in Waterloo, the Regional Academy in Math and Science in Owine, and sometimes it's just a matter of identifying and facilitating the growth of jewels that already exist in Iowa somewhere.
We'll share it. So. Anything else? Well, I do want to brag on Iowa just a little bit too, because other states really are looking to Iowa and what they put in place. And Iowa had the opportunity to go participate in the STEM Connector on Tuesday of last week, and I had Florida and Washington and just numerous states come up. They really liked the regional aspect of it and the way that we were able to break it down, and really, really liked the public-private partnership. A lot of them were able to get the public sector involved, and so you know, everything is really aligned to make this a great initiative and to really see some fantastic results moving forward. And we absolutely could not do it without Jeff Weld at the helm. He was the executive director for IMSA, and we were able to take the experience and the foundation that was laid through that initiative and bring that right over to the STEM Advisory Council. So he works 24/7. We call him the STEM guru, and we're very lucky to have him serving in that capacity. So thank you very much, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.